Final Fantasy XV is an open-world action game developed by Square Enix. Development of the game began in 2006 and finally released in 2016. Probably one of the biggest projects of Square Enix and one of the most ambitious video games in general because they were aiming to make an open world Final Fantasy game with a fast action combat, hyper realistic, yet beautiful graphic. And on top of that, they were also aiming to make a massive story about a grand journey of a prince and his companion, while the prince himself loses everything he has, from his kingdom, his family, his lover, and even almost the entire world. Final Fantasy XV is one of the best-selling Final Fantasy, and this game received such a good score, but surprisingly there are so many people who criticize the game. Of course, we, the players, are the one who understand a game the most, because we actually play the game and observe everything in the game itself, unlike gaming journalists or gaming magazine who tend to like a game just because of its graphics or if the game is COD. So, let's take a look, shall we? And now let's move on to the basic combat. You can perform basic attack by pressing the left button. You can hold the right button or the walking button to dodge. And also you can parry by holding the right button when you see a prompt. I didn't know that you have to hold the button though. I'm used to play fast action games, so I didn't know what the hell I was doing when I was playing this game for the first time. Also, despite being an action game, this game does still have the wait mode. You can switch between active and wait mode in the option, just like in the older Final Fantasy. This wait mode, however, is the Libra magic in this game, which is interesting because it doesn't have any risk casting this magic because the time freeze in wait mode. I honestly don't see the point of the timer of wait mode. The protagonist here is different from the other party member. He has a unique ability. He can use a warp magic. In Final Fantasy XV, this is a magic the royalty of Lucy can use. It's quite different from the warp magic of other Final Fantasy. This is used to teleport and close the gap between you and your enemy, and you hit them with whatever weapons you are using. You can also warp to a warp point, usually a cliff, a stone, or a building, to avoid a dangerous attack or recover MP while your friends suffer. I really like this. I love warping around to dodge and attack. It's so cool and so fast. For the first time in a Final Fantasy game, you can finally experience air combat. And this is an action game. If you unlock the air combat combos for Noctis and if he has enough MP, you can actually fight in the air. This is like those fast anime style fights. It's so cool if you can pull it off. I really like that Noctis is different from other Final Fantasy protagonists. He has an actual unique ability, and I like that this game uses the warp magic as part of the gameplay and the lore. Normally, magics like meteor is part of Final Fantasy lore instead. While Noctis can use warp magic, How about the other magic? So, magic is drastically different in Final Fantasy 15. First of all, it's not really magic like what you'd expect from a Final Fantasy game. Magic is called elemancy in this game. As you can guess by the name, it's more like an alchemy. You don't learn magic. Instead, you have to concoct your magic by using elemental energy that you absorbed from an elemental node that you can find. And you can combine it with an item to get a certain additional effect. And you have to store your magic inside a magic flask. The amount of magic you can use depends on the amount of elemental energy and items used. You have to equip your full magic flask like a weapon in order to use it. Magic has cooldown. You have to wait a bit to use it again. I guess this is how they balance magic because using magic does not use MP at all. Although later on you can craft some powerful magic that break the damage limit. To be honest, this is interesting. It's kind of fun that you can try different effects for your magic. But I have a problem with this system. I don't like it. First of all, there's only three elements: fire, ice, and thunder. The light element exists in a form of Ring of Lucy, which is an equipment that you get later. But that is part of the story. Other than that, where is water, wind, and earth element? Where is the major magic? Where is the green and blue magic? This game has a lacking amount of magic. Magics in Final Fantasy 15 is very strange. For me, at least, it doesn't feel like magic at all. I don't know why, but sometimes it feels like magic doesn't exist in the world of Final Fantasy 15. I've never even seen any Imperial soldier using a magic. And speaking of elemency, items is also different. What's really different about the items in Final Fantasy 15 is the value of the items itself. Why is that? Because you can buy elixir and high elixir from shops. You can get mega potions from Cactuar, and one of your party member has the ability to pick up mega elixir and mega phoenix when you win battles. Normally those are endgame items, very rare items that usually you need to grind a lot to get those. But now you don't need to worry about messing up in a fight because you can simply drag your entire party. Maybe this is all because this is an action game, I guess. I used to heal my characters using white magic in other Final Fantasy games, but back then you've got to be careful with healing magic because MP is limited. And now I have to use items instead, so this is new. Alright, we got the basic already. So now we're gonna talk about our party member. This is our boy band. No, I mean our party member. Prince Noctis and his three friends. And that's it. There is no other party member. So that means you cannot change your party member unlike the other Final Fantasy games. Sadly, we can only control Noctis during exploration, while the other party members are controlled by computer AI. You can unlock the ability to take control of other characters during combat by spending your AP. Though I wish we could fully control the other characters during exploration. One thing to note about the ability to switch characters is that this did not exist back then. They added this in a patch. We're gonna go back to this later. We're gonna talk about what our allies can do without controlling them first. During combat, your party member will automatically attack and dodge. You can perform blindside when you attack an enemy from behind, and you can perform link strikes when you manage to parry an attack while your friend is nearby. And not only that, you can also order them to use their techniques. This will consume the tech bar on the left. You can also perform these mechanics with a guest character. While none of these techniques are anything cool or flashy like limit breaks, but still, I guess this is a teamwork with your friends. To be honest, the combat of Final Fantasy 15 is super simple. There is not much depth with the combat, unlike other action games like Kingdom Hearts, etc. Now, controlling one of your friends is a lot more fun than simply using their techniques. You can use different types of firearm with Prompto, something that he will never use when you're not controlling him. And Ignis man, is so badass. He can use different elements and infuse his attacks with said element, like using spell blades in previous Final Fantasy. And each of elements has a unique combo as well. Personally, playing as Ignis is sometimes way more fun than Noctis using his Armiger Unleashed. Alright, it's time to talk about the story of this game. My biggest complaint and the main problem of Final Fantasy 15 and the root of all the problem this game has. Let's talk about the story without the DLC. So the story begins with Noctis and his friends going to the wedding of Noctis and Luna Freya, while in reality, King Regis, his father, sent Noctis to save him from Imperial assault. As I said before, this is all about the journey of a prince who lost everything precious to him. That's when the prince finally realized the importance of his friends and everything and everyone dear to him. And that's when the prince is starting to become an actual mighty king who will protect his kingdom. But when you play the game, you will immediately realize that something is wrong with the story. It's way too short and poorly written and no emotional impact at all. You can breeze through the main story real fast. Chapter 1 was quick, chapter 2 was quick, and the next chapter is even quicker, and it goes on. There is only 14 chapters. Now I'm not gonna explain the whole story because I just want to talk about the things that interest me or things that are bothering me in the story itself. And after that, I guess I'm gonna talk about the DLC for a bit. So, after learning the tragic news about King Regis, Noctis and his friends goes on their way to gather power and defeat the Niflheim Empire somehow by getting astrals and the royal arms. That's what you do in the first 8 chapters. There's really not much to say about the story from this point until you arrive in Altissia. So, I guess, chapter 9. If you exclude your exploration and side quest, then the story is very short. It's no joke. You can literally speedrun this game. When I talk about other games, I've never skipped chapters like this, but this is really where the story gets more interesting. So it turns out that Luna Freya is still alive after the invasion, and she's trying to summon Leviathan so that Noctis can borrow her power, I guess. But the Empire is also there. They want to kill Leviathan just like how they wanted to kill Titan. But then this happened. She died. This is the first time Noctis get to meet Lunafreya, but she was killed by the main villain, Arden, so easily. We are supposed to feel sad about this, but I don't feel sad at all. I feel nothing. We don't know Lunafreya. We sent letters to each other, and that's it. It's insane how Noctis and Lunafreya never talk to each other in the entire game, except during flashback. And what's funny is that this game take place in modern world. But doesn't that mean Noctis could simply call her using his phone? I mean what? Dude, they are using androids. Not even an old phone. There's no way she doesn't have a phone either. Well, it's a weird, funny plot hole because the story writer is treating the story as if it take place in Middle Age or something. I can see that they were trying to recreate the death of Aerith in Final Fantasy VII, but it didn't work at all because the story itself is too short. We don't know anything about her, we don't know her well. And not only that, she also died easily and failed at commanding or controlling Leviathan. It makes her look weak. Isn't she like the summoner of Final Fantasy 15? How could she fail at commanding Leviathan? After that whole mess, Altissia fell apart. People there were evacuated. The story now is very grim at this point onwards. Noctis was still deeply sad because of Lunafreya's passing. You'll also find out that Ignis is blind after that event, and so Noctis decided to go to Tenebrae, Lunafreya's home, by train. And here comes the scene that a lot of people didn't like. Gladio is angry at Noctis for not acting like a king and move on from his sadness. Now, this scene divided people in community. There are people who didn't like how Gladio is acting like a jerk, and there are people who think that Gladio is right and how this is basically tough love. It's true that Noctis should have get over it because the world is in danger and he is the only one who can do something about it. But I don't like how Gladio is acting after this. Personally, I feel like Gladio is more like antagonizing Noctis, especially all the exchange between them after getting off the train. And it goes on, even until later, when you infiltrate the fortress. I also don't like how Gladio view Noctis as if he doesn't care about Ignis being blind. You know, everything happened so fast. He just doesn't know what to say. Ignis himself is the mature one here. I like his advice. He told everyone to wait until Noctis is ready, unlike Gladio, who is constantly flaming him even after this. But honestly, Noctis is also weird. He doesn't seem to know how to express himself even after the time skip. I don't know if this is poor writing or what, or maybe I'm wrong, but take a look at this.
Hey, hey, that's all you have to say for yourself after all this time?
Wow, that was really awkward. After 10 years, that's what he said. Before we continue, let's talk about the blind Ignis. This is a very interesting decision. You know, this might be the first time in Final Fantasy where one of the main characters is blind. Even in the history of RPG, it's rare to see a main character getting crippled. Usually the playable or the main characters never get a terrible permanent injury like this, and it affects gameplay as well. Normally, if this happens in other games, they are going to leave your party, but not this time. You can see how Ignis struggled to walk. You can see him fall, and Prompto helped him to get up. They managed to invoke strong emotion through gameplay. Ignis being blind is way sadder than Luna Freya's death because of how it ruined the dynamics between these four. He usually cook our food, but now all we eat is canned food or cup noodle. During combat, Ignis will try to fight with a simple swing of his knife, but he gradually learned how to fight like he used to in the past in time skip. It's rare to see this unique and sad gameplay. Quite crazy because considering the amount of games now, but most of games are too afraid to do something like this because it would affect gameplay. I feel like this part of the game is underappreciated. They managed to show you the story from gameplay. This is why Ignis is my favorite character in this game. Now there is nothing else to talk about. The game did a poor job at explaining about a lot of stuff in the story. Anyone who played this game were confused about the story. Like why did Lunafreya summon Leviathan? Why did the time skip happen? Who the hell is Bahamut? What happened to Noctis at the end of the story? You can clearly see how unfinished and rushed the game is from story and gameplay perspective. Yes, even the entire game is very short, including the exploration. Now there is nothing else to talk about. The game did a poor job at explaining about a lot of stuff in the story. Anyone who played this game were confused about the story. Like why did Lunafreya summon Leviathan? Why did the time skip happen? Who the hell is Bahamut? What happened to Noctis at the end of the story? Do you remember what happened to Ignis? How did that happen exactly? What happened to Prompto after he was knocked off the train? Where did Gladio go? Apparently, you can only understand the full picture of those obvious missing part of the story only by purchasing the DLC. Wow. Imagine back then when the game was released and you have no idea what happened. Or imagine if you don't buy the DLC. I dislike the idea of releasing an unfinished game and releasing DLC and patch later to fix the main story and even the game itself. I can't believe that there is a massive story during those exact part of the story. I thought that at least the Imperial soldier being an artificial human is an important part of the story. I mean, remember this guy? He made a small appearance during the scene of the invasion of Lucis, so he's just as important as the other guys. The last DLC episode was episode Ardyn, which is released in 2019, but there are supposed to be even more DLC, which is episode Noctis, Arania, and episode Lunafrea, but those were cancelled. I heard that these DLC take place after the alternate ending of episode Ardyn, which means you are defying destiny. So I guess the story was about prophecy, but you defy destiny here, and the villain is Bahamut. I don't know, but this is really weird. It's as if they don't know what they want the story to be. Also, Luna Freya really need the DLC because imagine a collab character has a better relationship with Noctis than her. And you barely see Luna in a game. Meanwhile, this collab character has more screen time and better dynamic with Noctis. I don't know, but looking back from gameplay standpoint, it's kinda weird that there is no mage in the team. Luna Freya would have been so fitting as a mage and summoner. Too bad that those three DLC were cancelled, rendering the alternate ending of episode Arden pointless. Oh well, whatever. There are also external media that explain more about the story, like the King's Glaive movie, for example, which take place before the event of the game, but I don't like a game that need an external media to understand the story. I prefer seeing it in the game itself. I miss the day when game was released as a complete game, no DLC or anything, and that is the full price. Anyway, it's not only the story that is short, but also the gameplay as well. Remember that this is an open world game, but take a look at this. This is the map of the entire world of Final Fantasy 15. Wow, it's very small for an open world game. Starting from chapter 9, you're able to explore the sea by using seed boat. But there is another problem here. See those remote islands? Guess what? You cannot explore those islands. You cannot land your boat. All you can do is go back to Lucy's, or you can explore Altissia instead. Or you can, I guess, explore the sea for whatever reason. There is only one event related to the sea, and that is the Bismarck whale. You cannot fight that giant whale, by the way. This is just a fishing spot. Wow. I just realized something. There is no fighting At the sea, there is no monster jumping at your boat? Wow, aside from the Leviathan boss fight, there should have been a water boss fight, man. Anyway, after the tragedy in Altissia, we went to Tenebrae by train. Along the way, we're going to see some places that you've never seen before. But you cannot return to these places once you complete the story. And also, you can clearly see a large empty area out there, but you cannot explore it. Also, the story that involves these places is very short as well. Damn, I wish we could at least explore these places. At least the world will not feel that small. And speaking of empty place, I've seen a lot of complaints about the world of Final Fantasy 15 being empty, and I agree with that. You can take a walk or drive for a long distance, and you're not gonna see anything interesting. I mean, the graphics, the scenery is beautiful, but the world itself is missing something. I don't know. I think the world is missing animals. Animals exist in Final Fantasy like fish, frogs, etc. But there is barely any monsters or animals that you can find. I think the world needs more monsters roaming around. It doesn't have to be hostile. They can put some pack of neutral monsters. And not only that, I think there need to be more items that you can pick up and just more objects or buildings that you can interact with. And one more thing, the region of Lucis that we can explore is mostly just countryside. All you see is a bunch of rest areas. You're gonna see the same place, the same atmosphere everywhere. Where is the big city? Where is the settlement? There's only two big cities, which is Altissia and Lestalem. One of the reasons why I like RPG or open world games is seeing the impressive structure of the civilization in the game itself. I love exploring towns. I'm not against the whole road trip vibe, but I want to see more of the world, the buildings, the civilization, whatever. The world of Final Fantasy 15 feels so small, even compared to Final Fantasy 6, and that was a Super Nintendo game, which is insane. Sadly, aside from the small world and the short story, none of the side quests are interesting either. Aside from that one quest about the giant behemoth or the huge Adamantoise quest. So, with all of that in mind, is Final Fantasy 15 the worst Final Fantasy? I don't know. I don't think so. The gameplay is cool, the combat is cool, and it's easy for even beginner. The world might be small, but the graphic, the scenery is still beautiful. Final Fantasy 15 is decent enough as a quick action game experience. Now, this game was facing a development issue, which is why the game took 10 years to make. I have to say, they were very ambitious. They wanted to make an open world game with high quality graphics in 2006. which is why they were trying different engines. Though sadly, the development was going nowhere for a while. They don't even know what's the story gonna be. Hopefully, Square Enix will remake this game someday. Maybe. Alright, this is the end of the video. Thank you everyone for watching. I appreciate your attention. See you next time, folks.